Deco.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the conservation meeting for Thursday, August 13th, 2026. I'd like to remind everybody this is being recorded. And like to take a roll call attendance. There's nobody online tonight, so just like to take an attendance.
Which were
Leah Whiting,
Carl Hummel, Peter Coffin.
Susan Container.
Like a mandolin.
Bob Sweet Chair. Good welcome for the public. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to speak on? That isn't on the agenda. Okay. At this point, first notice of intent, 76 Oxbridge Road, DEP number 218-0873. Representative Patrick Doherty, Midpoint Engineering, here for septic repair, installation of new well, installation of new dock and interior renovation of an existing single-family house. Work area is within the 100-foot buffer zone to Lake Mill.
Good evening, my name is Patrick Doherty, I'm a professional engineer with the engineer. Office is at 37 Sutton Road in Webster, Mass. Also with me is Bruce Boyd, who's the applicant. New owner of the building. So this building is the former engineering office. Bruce recently purchased the property and plans to make that his primary home. Right now, Bruce is my neighbor in Kinsley Lane. He's been on the lake for about 15 or so years. So the house is very old, about 1900 is about when it was built. It had the non-conforming septic system. Previous owner did have an engineered system designed, which was approved by the Board of Health. It's the plan that they submitted in the package. So first, as part of the renovation, first step is going to be to install a new well and new septic system. We've got erosion controls planned for along the bank. The new system will be on the, I guess it would be the west side of the home. On the building here, the house is up front, like that one is towards his place south on the sheet. There's a garage up by the road, and the existing cesspool is located in this area. And plan is to remove that existing cesspool, put a new septic tank, a new pump chamber, then a new leach field further away from the lake.
Septic, cesspool or tight tank?
No, this would be
No, the original.
The original is it's a cesspool.
Oh, okay.
Or some type of system that they grew. They found a leaching cesspool with some, I guess, some trenching off of it. Over the years, they probably added to it. It's not complying. This would be a compliant to the extent feasible. There's some setback that had to be modified. We can also, have shown not on this plan, but separately, we plan to install a dock, and we initiated the chapter 91 licensing process for that. At the site walk showed where it would be located. But basically, there's a patio in front of the home that wraps around, and then an existing retaining wall with stairs that go down to Sandy Shore. The new dock will be placed right next to the stairs that go down to the water. I think that's kind of, in summary, we plan on putting erosion controls before we start construction. The excavation removal of the existing system will occur first, then setting the tanks, and then constructing the retaining wall. So that once that new retaining wall is up, everything's going to be kind of confined. If necessary, with additional erosion controls on top of that wall, seems to be necessary.
Did I misunderstand, Patrick? Are you putting the retaining wall after the septic system?
No, the is going to be a retaining wall, needed.
Right.
Right now, in order to construct the, tanks and remove the existing system, we're gonna have to take out some of the existing retaining walls.
Oh, okay.
So in order to be able to manage the construction, set the tanks and then put the retaining wall in, it's. Just
Right, so that way, as you fill the walls in, it's not going to run out.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
You want stuff?
yes,
Isabella, you have a comment?
We got the DEP comments the other day, one of them was about the fees operated for the dock, so we had to got the check in for us. And then they had commented about the existing or proposed retaining walls in the neighborhood watermark. May require chapter 91 licensing if not already required. I don't have record of there being prior chapter 91 licenses on the site. I don't think you'll find anything either.
no.
So whether they bring that up through the dock price process would be later on.
Yeah, my experience has been is, if it's pre-1984 construction, it's their grandfather. But if you were going to either do a major repair to that wall, then you would have to get a license.
And that wall right next to the water, you're not doing anything, you don't need to do anything while the septic works.
No.
I assume it's pre 1984 then. I see saw the 90s.
Yeah, so I went on storeheroes.net and there's a very clear image from 71 that shows the exact creation. And then if you look at the walls, it's very apparent that it's not a new construction.
At this point, if there's no other comment from our agent, I'll open it up to the board.
I have no problem with the septic you've got designed, and I suppose it's history, but am I reading the plan right? That you had arrows showing the shoreline, so the existing walls go right to the shore. What were we thinking? I guess we weren't around. And that's true with also this stone wall going all the way.
Yeah, the only area that I guess is good. See that there's kind of dark in the wall. So this darker line is the wall, and then even up in front here, this is all kind of armored with riprap where it's not a wall. This has got a sandy beach area, so the water doesn't extend to this arch here. So it's the same.
You said it was a canoe club?
Yeah, there's some old postcards from I think 1906 that show this house and the neighbor has two structures that were canoe club that rented out canoes and swam. And they actually remnants of an old diving board out on the patio.
That's your time to bring back.
No, we come back across the diving board.
So it's unusual that there's a lot of unbuilt, that lot is, you've got some extra land. But that can never be built on, or maybe, I don't know.
Well, you never say never, but it wouldn't be conforming to zoning. Then
Pretty
zoning
close.
is 60,000 square feet.
Supposedly. It'd be hard to fit something in there.
And the garage extends beyond the property line?
Yeah, the state highway like that. The garage predates the highway.
What does VGC stand for?
Vertical granite curve. Oh, up here? Yeah, that's vertical granite curve. That's where the end of the road is.
Any other comments?
No, he's good. He's got his ducks in a row. It's nice.
Yeah, I went to the sidewalk and it's pretty straightforward.
At this point, then, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to close the public hearing for 76 Uxbridge Road, DEP number 218-0873.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Congrats. License moved.
Well, that's totally hearing.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
yeah, no.
I move to approve the notice of intent for 76 Uxbridge Road, CEP number 218-0873, and order an issue of conditions as drafted by the agent.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any comment?
Our standard, section around the well.
The whole thing, all of the template stuff.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Want the orders sent to your office?
That's what I'm saying.
We're a little bit early for the 7:20. Notice we can't, if the applicant doesn't mind us pushing up the timetable. Start now, or we can wait, is anybody on the board have an issue with that?
And we would, a neighbor would be here for that.
Isabel, are you okay with pushing it up? All right, notice intent 109 Uxbridge Road, DP number not determined. RGJ Realty LLC. Reconstruction of commercial building destroyed by fire. Building is proposed to be in the same size, approximately 1,000 feet. Building is proposed to be the same size. Approximately 1,000 feet of filled wetlands are proposed to be restored with this project. Isabel, comments?
My name is Tim Burrell, and I'm with Stock Consulting. And I'm Joe Sokol. I'm one of the J and RGJ Realty, and Knoxville resident, and welcome Mendon.
Welcome.
This building used to be a feed store.
So feeds and meetings?
Yeah, feed building. We burnt down, and we wanted to rebuild it. That would be required, we put hay bales in to show the perimeter of the work area. But that, as far as, there's no stormwater requirement, other than it's a commercial property. DEP requires, when I was found this out, it's part of the DEP, because they require stormwater management plan. So we're gonna have to go through the paperwork to do it, to say we don't need to do it because we're not increasing stormwater at all. Pre-existing.
How did we get DEP comments without a number?
They won't issue the number if the comments are significant.
Oh, okay.
We have a number, the DP.
I don't see them.
They give email to, oh, wait a minute, that was another question. Yeah. So, yeah, and I can get some of them to get.
Okay, so the expectation is you will provide them the rationale for why it's exempt, and then they'll issue more comments and a DEP number, and then we can move forward.
Right,
Okay.
I can go ahead.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sure. Go through stuff.
In the back of the property, when we were on at this project with Joe, I saw they were filling the wetlands. So I said, you can take a chance, they don't find out while you're doing construction and they put a stop order on you, and we can, face the reality that we start going to have to happen. But he chose to do that. There's about 1,000 square foot of wetlands that have been filled in. And the proposal is to truck out the materials that we can't keep on site, which is really, there's no place to put the material. And then replicate those wetlands.
And where is the replication going to be?
It's in the back part of the property behind the shed.
I'm seeing that's the approximate area of wetland filling.
Right, it's been filled in, but we want to replicate, we want to replace it, take it out, restore the wetland.
in the same place.
in the same place.
Right, they're proposing to remove the filled-in material and bring it back to original size of the wetland.
And when we were on the sidewalk, it's like top layer of wood mulch.
Yeah, so it just hand raked out over everything. It's 20 years worth of organic material from a rainstorm and we have to remove it. That's a, condition. I'm totally fine with doing it to replicate it.
Do we have a plan for replication, restoration? So,
We submitted one this morning, that more is the wetland, person that flagged the wetlands. And I asked him to give me the report, he was at the time, he's on vacation, he was at Kennedy Space Center yesterday. So last night he put together a report, and we emailed it over.
It's pretty basic mix. It's like vaccine conformable, some mild tortosilata. Just picture of 20 shrubs. Yeah, they're 6 to 8 foot on center.
I read through the report. They're proposing scraping down only to the existing layer of wetlands, taking the wetland fill material off site because they don't have storage on site for it. And then because it's a fairly steep bank, they want to put some bush blueberry, some pepper bush, and some winterberry in.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm throwing the whole unit vaccine conformables, and that's for the slaughter.
I'm good. I just didn't see I must have missed it, the files.
Did I do a good job?
Yeah, well, you did the common names and,
You're hired.
yeah.
So, and then, erosion control, you're offering.
We're putting up silt fence with 12-inch wattles, 3 foot outside the existing fill area, so the machine doesn't
Destroy.
destroy
What?
the silt fence.
And you're gonna use biodegradable bottles?
Yes. Compost wattles.
We're asking people to not use the orange plastic mesh outside the wattles, because then it's a cleanup.
Right, yeah.
That's what you need to deal with.
Makes a mess out.
Biodegradable ones are just as easy. You can leave them there.
Mr. Fox, are you all set with your presentation or?
Yeah.
Isabella, your comments?
I had noted at the sidewalk that the stream flow path for the flow path for the stream was on the plan, so that was an update that we got over the past week.
Good.
I will note the NOI application proposes 800 square feet from the report is calling, and the site plan called for 100. So that was something, sorry, 1,000. So that was a big discrepancy between the NOI paperwork and this one.
Okay. It's a problem. We know that option.
As long as it's under 5,000.
It's no more than 1,000.
Would you prefer that if it's correct you for 1,000, so that way there they can go up to 1,000 or you want 800 if they go?
It'll just be noted on the order that it's 1,000, not 800.
So. You all set?
Yeah.
Comments from the board?
I didn't look at the restoration. Oh, sorry.
I didn't get to look at it.
So we'll look at it next meeting when we get the DEP number and go over that.
You think we want to reserve comments until?
Yeah, because I haven't read it.
Okay with that?
Okay, I have a couple other questions.
Okay.
And it's also posted on
It may help you guys further, the process next meeting. You guys some questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the sidewalk, but I'm pretty familiar with it. I used to buy a lot of chicken feed in the pig feed. The existing drain goes right to the wetlands. This has a handwritten, are we shortening the outlet? Someone's drawn on this plan.
Oh, I might have just noted where the stream is out.
Well, it comes out right at the wetland, right?
The street drainage,
Yeah,
yeah, collection that comes into this into the stream. And that stream is fed by a wetland on the other side of the lake.
Yeah, I mean, that's a mistake, so it comes out
Comes out right there.
here, so there's a new plan. With a flow path coming this way, and then it cuts over that way.
That stream is virtually not really over inside the road in the state rebuilt. I mean, that's.
Do
That's
you have
what's
the
supposed to
updated plan printed?
Pardon me?
Do you have the updated plan printed?
Okay, let's go this one up.
And then there's a 4-inch pipe, that
Yeah, this is off this one, the French drain from the slab that the new construction is going to take place.
I just want to start staying directly into the resident.
The pipe coming down here.
Is that an existing industrial waste holding tank or is it?
No, that has to be currently added because in order to break code, you have to have floor drains at every door. So they, let's see, without the plumbing code, because I've tried to find a way to not have to do this, Mass State Plumbing Code 248 CMR 10.09. It's an oil gas separator. So that's another $40-something thousand add-in we have to do.
Are you keeping this as a chicken, feed store?
But not like, my father's 77 years old and has maintained this for the last 10 years as something for the community. He enjoyed it. It's not his main business. We have a wholesale nursery operation on the other side of town, Bay Street.
Okay.
We actually specialize in potted plants. So,
And there,
yeah.
a few times.
So,
Aquatic plants.
Aquatic, okay.
So, I mean, that's a real business. At 77, I would prefer him slowing down. He's earned his fair share. He really enjoys it. It was up to him. He's gonna find a way of trying to do something to
You know, way to stay alive.
well, he really wants to be able to have the feed, so whether it just be for bird supplies, for, hobbyists or whatever, people really like being there for the community, so I don't know. But we're planning on it being four different days. Each one, its own bathroom and separate. I won't be at all surprised if he really tries to make an effort to do something again. You're shaking your head no.
It's, those 4 bays will all be just for, here's the chicken feed. Here's the pig, here's the horse stuff.
So, are you using change of use then? Are you going with change of use? Because oil water separators usually tend to mean automotive, no?
No, apparently because we have to have under every overhead, this is, maybe somebody can shed some light on this, but, our mechanical engineer or MEP, person who does plans, it has an overhead door, over 10 feet wide, vehicles can get in and out of it, you don't put bollards in front of it to prevent vehicular access. You need the water, oil, gas separator. The crazy thing is we have to do the floor drains. The floor doesn't have to, my concern is that I want to be able to put, have people be able to put the pallet racking inside. The floor does not need to be sloped to the drains.
How does it get?
If somebody can explain that, it seems like a lot of money to spend. We called the town plumbing inspector, said that absolutely he will enforce that it has to be done. I've visited 6 commercial buildings that have just been recently built in the area, one over by Fullmark and a few other ones in the area. Only one has floor drains. So.
But do they have doors wider than 10 feet?
Yeah, I mean, they're all 12-foot doors. So I don't understand how they got around it. But it's a significant expense. I prefer not to have to do it. We can't have vehicle, we're not planning on it being automotive usage. The tenant in the back building does custom lighting for trucks. That's as automotive as we really want. So I don't know why we have to do it, but that's my understanding we have to do it.
One other question, I think real quick is, it shows a catch basin right aside of that. It doesn't give you any detail to where it daylights.
The catch basin in front of the building, front of the slab goes out towards the stream. That is existing line that I think was probably, there's a tremendous amount of water that comes down Route 16 and into that property.
Yes.
It's insane how much water will come down in a rainstorm. There's a catch basin that was there when we bought that property 20 years ago, and water comes into there and goes over. We did call it speed bump, but the berm that crosses across the driveway serves both as a speed bump, but also to divert the water. And we did essentially a rain garden, just a mixture of wetland tolerant plants that we planted just as a buffer to shield that water flow on the side.
If you could, give on the map, when you go back, the direction where that daylight, so.
Yeah. Okay.
It's out here. They're.
Is that the 4-inch PVC?
Yeah.
So you just wanted to show the line connecting the two?
Yeah, it sits up about 2.5 feet above the. Where's the other ones?
Orange line.
That's
Oh, 4-inch.
Yeah, feet.
Oh, no, this is, oh, I'm sorry, we're talking over here, here we go. One is this is orange PVC. And we're not quite sure the exact path that it takes, but
So if you can get that information right there.
Is that bigger?
Well, that would be my only concern, because that goes right, if you could shorten that up a little bit, just so it has a little bit chance, as opposed to it's sticking up 5 feet above the 24-inch. I don't know, there's rocks there or something, is that what that's supposed to?
Pipe just sticks out maybe
it,
3 feet and then
at this point, there's no, the water's already buffered from the speed bump, nothing's, not as much is going in there anymore, but that's, we can definitely modify. The state also, I don't know, 8 years, 6, 8 years ago, rebuilt that massive drain on the side of the road. So now, what used to be a dry stream bed and rarely had water in it, now we got a lot of water that goes through there.
Who owns this lot next door, 107?
Where the vehicles are.
Well, no, because it seems
No.
like your existing fence is off.
Oh, that's M&M Medical, that's Mike, see the last name wrong.
Coons, Michael and Marilyn Coons.
Yeah, he was at the one that probably his name was. That's it.
And then you also, your vents on their property. Or your,
The
Septic
line seems to be a little bit different each, it's surveyed a couple times, so,
that's between you and him, I guess.
yeah, I mean. It's been surveyed, I think, 3 times, and I think 3 times they come up with different lines. They had a survey when they did fence. I'm not gonna argue their fence line if they want to move that, happy to move it.
Very naked. There's a plan on file, and you read the plan on file.
Yeah.
That's a picture of the, okay.
When you're trailing, go get that, your car, go get the fence posted.
Yeah.
And I,
So water comes out and splashes out, that would be just, it's like a plunge pool, kind of, not quite sure.
That's a stream.
Right, but I'm not sure how much water. comes
No,
out.
the water.
When it drops 5 feet, so it drops some.
Rush from the drive, the parking lot will be done, you may not do anything.
Off by the grade lines, it looks like it drops about 6 or 8 feet. You're going from 99 at the top elevation, and those are 2-foot grade drops.
From the one to us,
6 or 8 feet.
They're 1 foot.
one foot on there.
Stream ever dry?
Not this summer, it hasn't been. Previous years, definitely has been, but this year here, it's had water coming through it pretty regularly. Or whatever that, it stays wet, it doesn't always have water coming out of the culvert, but that area will stay wet. I mean, after a rainstorm, that, well, you can see the water marks inside the culvert and how high that water comes, that culvert comes out of some pretty good force from the road. Oh, as far as the height of the water, then? It is.
50% of the pipe.
Yeah. It's crazy, it never, until the state rebuilt that right there, it never used to really flow.
And it seems like your sign is off your property, but the state's not making you move it yet, right?
Correct.
Well, they took property off of ours.
What's that is, like,
They own it, I guess, huh?
Any other, Perry?
Yeah, just, there are notes here, so that an abutting property owner has expressed some concern about cumulative impact, do you have any response to that?
Yeah, there was a complaint about additional 113 Oxford Road and then 123, which had had 123 Oxford Road would have had some wetland violations in the past, so they just wanted to make sure the commission was considering that there have been other impacts to the street on adjacent properties. And asked us to look into 113 Oxford Road, which Bob had brought up the other week as well.
Yeah. That was what you did.
So for clarification, it wasn't a complaint about this project, it was a complaint about something.
Just in general, that the cumulative
Okay.
concern.
He
Wanted
was
called
part of the whole.
wanting to make sure that. Everything was standard or the standard.
No, of course, totally makes sense. I just want to make sure it wasn't, if somebody had an issue with the actual project, I would be aware.
I don't think what we're doing is going to impact them, it's already there.
But the issue is, it's what, 200 feet back is zonings? That shed is how far back? So it's, I mean, that shed's been there a while, I guess.
19 years, thereabouts.
It's not technically our issue, but
It's 270 feet. And then another. So, I'm not sure what goes. This is 270 feet.
175 feet,
To the shed.
yeah. Measuring what my finger.
What's
no, it's a lot more than two. Come on, if the frontage is 200, 200 takes you back to the existing building. You'll be halfway through the existing building and your shed's another 100 feet.
Building pads, not for itself.
All right, obviously you guys don't have a DEP number, so you know you're coming back anyways. Are there any more questions? Are there any questions in the audience? Just want to make sure you guys are okay with the project.
Want to make sure they got to go to solar conservation committee meeting this about,
I don't see anybody online, so, at this point, if no other questions, make a motion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to continue?
All those in favor?
Fine.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
The next meeting will be.
we fully resolved on the COC, the septic, and brought in all the original documents, and look at it, it's totally resolved.
Do that at some time.
Okay, I mean, do you foresee any other issues there, or anything else you need from us on that?
No, we'll reference the new order.
Oh. So I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Additional topics for discussion, commercial forestry enforcement order, 5153 Washington Street.
Today, I have another meeting. We're hoping to be ready. At least by 7:30 in case of the public hearing, so.
If that's the case, we can skip that until last, or until he comes in. We finish before he comes in. Talk more about it at that point. So item agenda number 7, request certificate of compliance for 31 Hartford Ave West, DEP number 218-0835. Made by Solo Elves in reference to an order condition issued to the Atkinson Corporation on 2/9/23.
did a site inspection this afternoon, they provided us the what's the photos on the table. So it's a permit from just a few years ago. There's some runoff coming off of the driveway in this area. Well, before the retaining wall here, it doesn't appear to be do that, but maybe we need some riprap, because it's the driveway kind of just is asphalt and ends. And so I don't want to threaten this retaining wall here. And then there was some grass clippings sort of along this rock wall that needs to stop, and then there was silt fence fill in the back here, which they can take out. They had some Japanese knotweed sprouting out in the new filled area, so they need to make sure that that doesn't spread and end up moving into the wetlands. Other than that, I think it looked okay. We're a little confused on the property line because the rock slope is over it. This area. And other than that, it's okay.
Do we want to wait to issue it until they make those changes?
I would say they were significant enough, and some of the grass, I would say, is greater than 75% coverage, so it's just that one part that they maybe have some runoff coming off the driveway. And I would say even for lawn growth and that sort of thing, probably more reason.
Is the runoff going to impact the wetlands?
No, I think it's far enough up, and so this whole area between the rock wall and the retaining wall is mulch, so nothing that kind of gone through mulch area, it was just near grass.
Is there a concern about the stone riprap that's in the 25-foot line disturb?
That's how it was permitted on the proposed plan, so. It's a pretty significant drop off. I'm surprised I don't have a fence. At least 10 feet maybe.
The kids.
I'm wondering. Losing a ball down there, it's gone.
A discussion? Okay.
I move to issue a certificate of compliance for 31 Hartford Avenue West, DEP 218-0835.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed?
I should abstain, my son's in the bunny. I'm pretty close with son.
Motion passes with one abstention. Item number 8, 35 Hartford Avenue East. The updated site plan.
So they had water consultant about
This one, oh my gosh, okay.
past week. And so the wetland finding did shift a bit from what they had on the plan I showed 2 weeks ago. So the meeting high water mark and the BVW line. So they provided the existing conditions plan with just the delineations. And then the plan with the lots on it. So you can see the BVW, the buffer zone for the wetlands did shift up into their right against the current loam pile that they have out in site. So the loam, and then what they're calling the limit of work they now have on the plan outside of riverfront and it's riverfront and priority habitat. But I still think we should go out on a site visit with the engineer. If they want to keep the limit of work entirely out of the riverfront area, then that's, they designed, they included the future pools or pool houses to show and then reduce the size of the houses to keep everything out from what was on the plan 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
this
because
is
the abutter was
completely-
pretty fervent, Mr. Stewart, that they were working.
That's why we need to go look.
Yeah, so the flags, I think, went up Monday, and they surveyed Tuesday and gave a plan yesterday, so
Now, is there a hard copy of that plan or is it?
I don't have them.
Are they working on site? Is that long pile gonna get moved before we get there?
No, they're working on lot 1. And the
I
fairground.
don't know my computer.
It's up there.
Do they re-engineer these? These are smaller.
They re-engineered the houses smaller. And some of them include pools and pool houses, to show that everyone fits.
I'd like to see it.
So
I
that's
thought that was just blue, right?
the septic system on the east degree.
Hmm.
It's closed.
That's the 100 foot. Everything's out of it.
Have you seen it?
I did meet Damon there on site, and we had, I think the loan file back, this was 2 weeks ago before the last meeting, but they did have some of the loan within the 200-foot riverfront that they had moved back and then installed the wattles before I got there. So they had moved it, but it was had recently been paid, for the long time, that's.
No, where the gas transmission, where Bellingham Street comes in. Right before.
Oh,
It's the new road that's.
So we'll site visit?
Do they mean?
Yes, we did it in the morning.
Recommendations on this?
For me?
I think it's horrible.
Close, but if they want to do monumentation on the extent of yard, because it's the difference of the tree line and what their yard can be, because you can't convert, and similar with natural heritage, converting agricultural fields to lawn is a change of use and needs a NISA filing. So same thing with them. If they want to stay out of priority habitat, they need permanent monumentation, and that's to get out of filing with them. But that's the comments they made back to me too.
Was the person that you mentioned before aware of all of this, they seem?
I think they haven't, their intent is to design it outside from.
Discussion from the board?
He says a really good one.
The reason why I'm questioning is because there's nobody here representing, so.
Well, it's not a public.
Yeah, it's more of an update to follow up, we got a complaint.
We have a complaint. They haven't filed anything in their positions. They don't need to file anything. So if we think we need to file something, if we think that they should be filing something, we need to engage in a conversation with them about that.
So we need to schedule a site visit sometime.
I think it'll be a good time because of play with the riverfront area, how that will. I'll make sure.
Okay. So are you going to schedule a site
Yeah.
visit?
For Tuesday, I'll contact Peter for a while.
I may be away. Hopefully I can make it. Depends how well I can work over the weekend. Tuesday.
I think it's off.
Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, then we'll go to mission reorganization. I would like to continue being the chair, so I nominate myself to continue the position.
I don't think you
Can.
can do that, but I'll nominate Bob Sweet as the chair.
I'll second that.
It depends whether we're following Robert's rules way of doing it or the policy that.
Open meeting, only is following. Also, open meeting laws.
I asked us on that, and I was
No, Robert.
informed today that it should be done as each individual, not a group of individuals at once. So if I do not get the majority of the popular vote, then there's a second person that can step up, and then everybody would vote. And if we cannot come to a consensus, then we table it until the next week, or we can bring it back for reconsideration.
So we could vote you down and then someone else could nominate you.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So it's the first nominee, which in this case is me, gets the opportunity to get shot down, and then we go from there. So, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
I request a roll call vote, please.
Roll. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
It's what I.
You're writing,
Carl Hummel, yes, aye.
Often
Susan, I.
Unbelievable.
Thank you, everybody. I think I'll vote aye as well. If I can.
It can be revisited.
Next year. So now it brings up
I
the,
nominate Terry for vice chair.
is there a second?
second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Wasn't
Yeah.
offering it for me.
I've done it already. I want to step down from that, so I can get more involved in some other town projects and committees.
Okay, roll call vote.
Who's the nominee? I didn't.
Terry.
A new guy.
Say it too fast, I like.
I wanted to make sure nobody tried to nominate me.
Okay, so, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Do you have to accept the nomination?
Of course not.
Accepted. He doesn't have a choice.
He can deny.
Yeah.
Hey, Terry, would you like to be the vice chair?
No, but I'll abstain.
Are you abstaining or are you accepting?
I'll abstain.
That's the
He
point.
does it.
Voted.
Oh, from voting. So do you
Oh, but-
accept the nomination?
Yes, humbly.
So go around, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like Terry a lot. Let's see, yeah, I think you did a good job.
Carl Hummel, aye.
Cough
Susan, no, I'm just kidding. Yes, I. Of course.
Unbelievable.
Bob Sweet, aye. Are there any other applicants that would like to be chosen for either position?
Next time.
Then I guess reorganization is final.
Or, committee liaisons, does everyone feel comfortable in their position, CPA, land use, lake committee?
I don't have an assignment.
Yeah.
You want to take over late?
No, I'm more into the, conservation.
Well, that is, believe it or not,
Oh,
the lake, meeting with the Lake Association is really informative, and they really enjoy having
Or the,
representation
the
because,
MVP. Well, because it's on
what is it?
municipal vulnerability preparedness. That's all, pronounce things to them.
I don't think we have a board.
MVP. Oh, okay,
Right,
No,
Lake Association,
did I have a board?
Yeah, it's my project for.
Yeah.
For a future
mass
date.
vulnerability preparedness. We're recruiting community liaisons.
I know.
I know, I did see you applied, we can talk about it after. But one of the goals the town staff had was to get new people who aren't currently volunteers.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, I'm not. in the
Thought you might wanna
for
bring
that. Well, I'm looking for it.
But we're still doing interviews and hoping to have everyone on board for next week, but one of the goals was not to have people in current things, especially.
I've got plenty of stuff to do. I'm just trying to help, you know.
Can see where it's not.
Let's not always see the same hands.
As soon as my son finishes my project, we'll have a really great tool to help out with that.
Peter, are you okay with staying on land use?
I will volunteer to do land use or CPC if either of the current position holders are interested in having me take that over from them.
With CPC.
Community preservation.
What are the meetings for the association? Once a month?
Yeah.
And what, did they
Yeah,
let
it's
you know?
Tuesday at 7 o'clock. You meet at the Marriott Ballroom, whatever they call it now, Imperial Ballroom. And it's a good group of people that they have concerned little lake and guidance through conservation, make sure that what they're doing is acceptable and they do a good job with the lake.
What about
Okay. I think that's everything. So,
Do we need to move, to have Peter remain on the land use committee or no?
he hasn't answered yet, so.
I moved that Peter be on the land use committee.
Second.
Now he could decline if he wants to.
Well, I would be tempted to, but Anne is kind of strong-armed me. So.
She strong armed you?
Well, that's the whole reason you should step down, because you can't strong arm me as easily.
She needs help. She's a good egg. Support her.
So let me hear a yes or a no on that.
That's a yes for one more year.
Okay. Okay, so now we're up to updates.
So there's a motion on the floor. Peter
Yeah,
continue.
you just accepted it.
Yes, oh,
Oh,
motion to made second.
okay, so motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
You're stuck with it for another year.
And Mike's position with the CPC, right?
Yeah. Going to do
I didn't know, that's already gone. I have to write you in.
It shows it.
Hello.
Oh, Shane, welcome.
I'm sorry, I had another hearing in Needham, and so it's kind of dragged on a little bit longer than I thought. Apologize. So I'm assuming it's in discussion of our site, or
Yes, let's just finish off. I'll nominate Mike for the CPC.
I'll second. You. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, so now we can go back to item agenda number 6. Commercial forestry enforcement order for 5153 Washington Street. And a whole bunch of other ones that we're not going to discuss tonight. So next steps and take any action required. So Isabella, we went to a site walk today with forestry manager Mike Downey and had some observations. Would you like to speak to them and fill us in on what the observations were?
Yeah, we organized the site walk following discussions with the Shane, the last few meetings, and we kind of got to a standstill on what would be required for restoring the forest access road on the property. So the Shane agreed that maybe it would be beneficial to meet Mike Downey, the service forester on site, for his professional recommendation. And I think that Mike Downey's opinion that we observed on site that I was attending, Duchesne was there, and five commissioners were there, so asking questions directly to Duchesne and Mike. No discussion amongst the commissioners, but Mike, like, largely aligned with the statements and opinions that the board has, that the majority of the slash road needs to come out, especially in those resource areas that are important, including the bordering vegetated wetland at the front of the property and midway back, especially since that site is, that larger system is holding, 2 feet of water in some areas, so observations today are that hydrologic connection is disrupted. There's ruts in the forest access road. You can clearly tell that the machinery had driven in not dry, not stable conditions, causing ruts, had then logged and brought material back to fill in the ruts to then make the road stable to drive on. But ruts in some area are fairly significant, maybe 3 feet in some, with the berm up on the side. And you can see that water is now pooling down along the ruts. And I think, those sorts of observations, we have gone back and forth a little bit about log materials greater than 6 inches needing to come out. But I think the opinion of most of the people there today is that more than just that should be taken out. Something else that Mike Downey brought up is that the landing area, which is where you stack the woods that is coming off site, the logs, the landing area can never be in a wetland system, especially not on a stream. So that would have been something that a forester would lose their license over if they had done that under a forest cutting plan. So I think that kind of emphasizes the significance of disregard to the laws. And so in my opinion, at this point, we've gone back and forth since February. So my recommendation is that a professional with an excavator, a small one, but only should take a couple of days to start at the back, remove the material, bring it up to, there's a pretty large bank, or spread it in other areas of the property. Work their way back, remove everything from at least the wetland areas. Whether you let the remainder of the road stay in or not is up to you all, but then I would have the area leveled out and ruts sort of smoothed over and then seed it with a native wetland seed mix.
It's gonna be a meadow seed mix.
Yeah.
It's all like that.
So as well, there were other, just the last thing I'll comment on, that Mike Downey brought up was the basal area retention, so you can't clear greater than 50% of the wetland on site, and that also has likely been reached, so Mike Downey specifically pointed to a few areas where the large diameter trees that they would have measured for basal retention, where there's a handful of them together, you would have needed to keep 50% of those. So he estimates that the forest will not regenerate for 150 years based on the amount that was cleared in some of these areas. So that's my summary of what we viewed or observed on site.
On my notes, it was 4 inches in diameter, not 6. They just mentioned, let's see, you guys change that, but I'm fairly.
I don't think it matters. I think they gotta get all that stuff out of there.
At this point, I think the
This is a height.
recommendation from Ms. Downey was that what's in the resource area should all be. So
And the intent is to restore the connectivity.
the hydrologic connection between,
This has to get done soon though, because, it's gonna be fall soon, it's gonna get rainy.
It's gonna be snowing next week.
What'd you say?
Just kidding. I said it's gonna be snowing next week as a joke, but it is New England.
Sure, you never know.
Volcano blows out somewhere.
any other discussion?
Yeah, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, you go.
I just had a question.
Let the vice chair go first.
No.
This is probably
I mean,
the 6th meeting where we're speaking to the consultant, not to the applicant's representative.
Oh, that's right.
I find it very difficult not to have a representative of the applicant sitting before us to either agree, discuss,
Yeah.
argue with, or
Sure.
have a contrary opinion, and I'm not sure how DeShane gets to play that role and is almost the responsible party for undertaking a number of these activities. And that's just an expression of my frustration. I think it's not a very good practice to make decisions without representation of the applicant. I guess my other question is, it's a shame, is it your understanding, DeShane, that there is a need to create a map from the river into the property, the 200 feet?
Yeah, I submitted the report from my research. The Willow Brook is actually demarcated as an intermittent stream on the latest USGS map, so it's not a river. And I support it with the stream status analysis, which shows far more than like 500 or 600 feet away from our property point. Like at the intersection, if you look at it, so the drainage area to that spot is only 0.09 square miles, so which is far less than required to support a river of 0.5 square miles. And the 90 percentile flow, the dry flow, is at the 0.0055 compared with the required 0.01. So it's like a half of it. So it's basically we don't have any riverfront issue associated with this property. That's my recent the latest research to address Michael's question. So I mean, he obviously he couldn't determine if that's a river or not. Basically, even assuming that's a river, I measured the distance is about 239 feet to our side. But so if it's intermittent, so it means there's no river's jurisdiction to be applied here.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's just address that. So after the meeting, I did talk to Gary and talk to Jim. Say, well, you guys, you have to make in your mind. He is trying to get a hold of David Copper, so whoever did the original work, and so he should have the machine, but I don't know why he does not coming back. So I will try if he can get it back here. So it's probably 2 days he can handle. I mean, taking whatever the big ones and load it, take it away. The smaller slashes just to take it and to put on the bank, because one of the things, the principle I'm looking at here is the two wetland area that, so you can see the wetland one is draining to the Willow Brook. The other one is draining to more to the west as it across the road, which is like in probably 400 feet apart from real resources through a very small pipes. So that one probably put the state as isolated wetlands is a kind of a less of from the jurisdiction perspective, the state wetlands protection may not even apply, but under the bylaw we do. Actually, I haven't get time to study the bylaw because the state for the agriculture use have exemption if the plans is followed with the forestry plan, but so we don't have it. That's another dilemma. But they're still zoned as agriculture use. So what is the local bylaw regarding agriculture activities in wetlands? So I assume there's a lot of activities, so I think there's still farming activities in town, right? So they will till the soils, plant crops, all that things is exempt.
We're going way off topic now. I don't care who's tilling soils. We have another question.
Yes, I wish to speak about representation, but I'd like to clarify. DeShang, I think I heard DeShang say he spoke with Gary. Was that this afternoon you spoke to Gary? Or
Yes,
previously?
yeah,
Okay, thank you. That's enough. So my concern is that at our last meeting, when Gary was here, he made a great big hairy deal about working with him and not working with him. We can't work with someone who's not in a chair. So at this point, I'd like to close discussion and start a discussion about imposing fines.
Shane, did you tell Gary that we wanted him here? Because I asked you to tell him that again after I've already sent an email earlier this week telling people that we wanted you here.
yeah. I did kind of tell him that. So the commission, of course at that time I cannot speak for assurance. I just say, well, probably expecting in 2 weeks if you don't get those things out, you're going to get fined. So that's the only thing I can tell him. And he's going to work. He's going to work with Jim to get either get that guy back or get somebody with the machine can handle the job.
Okay,
So you-
Mr. Chairman, did I ask the Shannon question?
Yes.
Kind of told him it's not a phrase that I think this commission should accept. Was he told that the commission would like to have him at this meeting? Are you?
Gary, I think I'm gonna intercede on that. I'm just gonna put it as this is. He knew there was a meeting tonight. It was posted. He chose not to be here.
And Isabella sent him an email earlier this week.
So at that point, it's showing lack of respect to this commission or to the issue. And therefore, if the only way to get his attention is to make a larger statement, then that's what we need. Is a motion
I'm just trying to clarify the record and see whether that answer was something that you could even interpret as an answer. Kind of told him. Answer.
Right now, as I understand it, there's a motion to,
No, I haven't made a motion. I'm saying that's my position. So we should keep discussing about what kind of, my feeling is that we don't have a plan yet. We gave them a deadline to come up with the reforestry plan. What DeShang proposed was not adequate, and we are now giving them feedback that as part of the reforesting plan, we want additional material taken out of the slash road. So that should be incorporated into whatever plan we get. So I would propose that we issue fines until such time as we get a plan in front of us. And maybe we are nice and suspend the fines and give them another 2 weeks to get it. But I want it on record that failure for them to come and work with us and sit in a chair is going to result in a monetary penalty.
I'm very concerned that this is gonna drag on and put us into the fall when we're not gonna be able to get that stuff out of there without more damage.
No, here's my
1 minute, Sharon. Peter had his hand up, so I'm gonna let him respond, and then you can have corresponding.
I'd agree with what Carl said, because basically we got the site plan on 6/25. We had some discussion. Site plan is not a restoration plan. But it was understood that in order to make a restoration plan, we needed the input from a forester. So we got that today. It seems to me that we've banged out a restoration plan. I feel pretty comfortable that we know what we want to see. And fines maybe, but I would be more tempted to put a date certain on this work to be done by October 10th.
We've done that. If you read some of the past meeting minutes, we've extended this 3 times.
We've
We've
also
extended asking for, we still haven't gotten a formal restoration plan. The restoration plan is just,
CEO does say that work would need to be done by October 10th of this year. But I'll double check exactly what it says, but that's in the order.
and so I kind of appreciate Carl's get their attention with, there is no restoration plan in front of us now.
Upon acceptance of the restoration plan, all work shall be conducted under the plan no later than October 10th, 2026.
Right, so to get them going on a formal restoration plan, document this so that, and have it done by the 10th. So whether we waive it, if we can get the plan in 2 weeks, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so I'm gonna open it up to Duchesne now. Duchesne, you had comment?
Yeah, I think Peter's comments, I think is fair. So it's not, we didn't provide a plan. We have responded to kind of mitigation plan. I'm not saying restoration because at that time we kind of feel if we're going to pull out all the slashes out in the wet time, is going to cause more damage and than do good. Since right now it's dry, they didn't take in that advantage to pull that out. I believe from what I observed there, if they poured out the slashes, you will see, because they didn't take or remove any of the topsoils. So there's a plenty of seeds like hibernating or kind of suppressed under the slash. You won't believe it. So I have seen that many places. If you take it out, most of the seed will popping up, just like you see even just the patches of soils between the slashes. We already see good growth coming out of it. So my only concern is if we're going to introduce some, even though they are native, but they may not be really meant for this micro ecosystem here. So you can introduce tons of like goldenrod, all that stuff. I would recommending that we pour that out, leaving the topsoils intact as much as we can. And since you have to monitor probably for 2 years for the growth, if the first year don't see any growth, then we can determine what kind of seed mix. Just a native seed mix may totally change the community of the plant community there.
The problem with that though is until that year goes through, you saw how you already have one area of wetland that goes to that intermittent stream. So raw land left unattended with the rainstorms that we get is only going to create a bigger problem.
I'll also note, I asked Mike Downey what they typically do when they restore forest access roads, and he said the New England wetland seed mix is always used to restore the access roads. And there was goldenrod on the site.
Yep, I saw it. And if you don't seed it, then I saw lots of invasives there that will reseed themselves.
So one of the questions that I have is, there still is no restoration plan. Is there a plan for a restoration plan?
I don't think we should be asking Shang that, so I don't want him to answer that.
Okay.
That is not,
Suggest what we want.
yes, but we have, at this meeting, we previously said, we want this, and this. So whoever Gary Smith hires can review hi there and take into consideration what we've said at this meeting for what we want.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. So you put your just the discussions require restoration plan be submitted in 2 weeks and the following approval of that plan because right now it's still not final approved plan. Even we can submit the plan, but it may still have to have some kind of comments and tweaks after you review it. So when the plan is approved, then they should be implemented, but no later than October 10th, which is close to the hydrological cycle end of the year. So which is will start the growing season will kind of start to stop. So
We should have had this already.
Gary?
Well, I guess we can get a plan and we can look at a plan and discuss whether that plan is adequate or not. The question I think is, we have points that Stella went over that constitute an outline of a plan. Unless Duchesne can say tonight he has professional disagreements with those points, then I think the question is, how soon can they respond to these specific points in the context of a plan that can be approved?
The concern I have right now is we're asking a member of the team that's doing the work that has no ability to make decisions,
I
to
understand,
make decisions.
I understand that.
So
I'm asking
what, this is just pretty much a waste of time.
Well, the Shank is in the same position as the engineer. He's been hired by the owner to do the work. But give him time to do the work. Now, it should have been done last month or 2 months ago. But the Shank is in the position of representing the owner. He is the agent.
Okay, so
I'm not asking, I'm asking whether he, as a professional, agrees or disagrees with the points that Isabella put forth.
He can speak for himself. It sounded like he agreed with
If
everything.
he agrees with them, then that's the outline of the plan, because that's basically what this is.
Right.
And then he can convey that to,
So let me see if I can answer. So Shane, do you agree that the slash road, through conversations with Mike Downey and the board, the intent is to have it removed from the resource areas?
Yes, that's what
Thank you.
I kind of already
That's
told
enough.
them. Yes, I agree with
Okay.
it.
Okay, so the slash road has to come out, and therefore
From the,
that is the first order of business, and then the disturbed area has to be made whole again so that plants can grow in a more undisturbed area than just a mismatch of ruts and holes.
yeah, so when they poured it out, there's one thing to clarify. I think Mike and we all agreed. So if you're trucking it, so we will put on the middle island kind of a bank over there. That's what we agreed at the site. If I get it right, Isabella, is that the same you proposed? Because I have a little bit difficult to hear clearly, so there's some kind of a little echoing on my end.
I'm comfortable with material being spread on site in uplands or taken off site if that's the wish of the applicant. I don't care if it goes off site or not. I think some of it is habitat that can be retained in buffer zone or uplands. Whether all of it stays on site or not, that's up to, I think that, property owner and applicant.
Now,
And I want to see a plan in writing before they begin work.
and one of my questions at that point is, do we want a windrow of slash and debris, or do we want piles of it?
I think piles are probably, that's.
I
good
think we should
habitat.
wait until they submit a plan and then we review the plan and decide whether we think it's okay or not.
I agree with Carl.
So at
That
that
we're
point,
making sorry, I would be a little bit disagree with the process, because it's going to be probably generate some kind of controversial with the contractor, because I need to communicate to them, say, okay, you have to take out the slashes, but you can put on the bank. Because it will be a different than say, well, later on, then say, oh, you have to take out from the resources, but you have to truck it out. In my opinion, if you truck it out, you cannot just truck it out once. You have to back and forth running on that access, and it's going to pushing the slashes into the soils and cause more ruts. That's what I don't want to see. I just like them to get the machine to the very end, take it and put on the bank and back walk toward the street. So you that's the only way I can think is minimizing the impact.
I think what the board, is leaning towards, Shane, is you need to come up with a plan on how it's gonna be done so that we can approve or disapprove of it.
I disagree. Gary Smith should be presenting the plan.
Okay,
He can delegate whatever specialist he wants, but I want to see, and I want to work with someone who is representing the owner, not with
When is
an engineer.
Don't we always have the consultant present? That's why Gary's not a professional wetlands.
Because he would be there for us to communicate and negotiate with. What typically happens is we say we want something, the engineer goes, and then looks at the owner, and the owner says whether or not they think that's reasonable or not.
For this specific one, I think it probably will helpful is if we can get an agreement on the procedure, and then they can talk to a specific contractor. So otherwise, the contractor give them some kind of estimating cost. If it just to take it out and put on the bank will be quite different than they will take it out and put on a truck and take it away and then coming back. So that's one I see a significant difference.
and I think we're all in agreement on that. We don't have a disagreement as to whether it's left on site or trucked out. One way or the other, whichever way the applicant wants to take care of that. But we gotta
Okay.
see it in the plan. But we need something in writing that says how it's going to be addressed so that we have something to look at and agree to.
Can you do that in 2 weeks?
Okay.
Mr. Shane?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, I will try to get to you in 2 weeks. So I will talk to Gary because the meeting, we don't have a meeting and the real discussion, so I cannot tell him one way or the other. And this I can tell now, so you can tell whoever do the contractor, so he can take it away or he can put on the bank. So so at this, that's give any, to me, I think that's some kind of incentive, give them the work flexibility. So hopefully we'll encourage them to do it.
Okay, Carl?
A question for Isabella. Under the Mendon bylaw and the statute, what are we authorized to issue as a fine for a violation of the enforcement order on a daily basis?
$300 for fail in place.
Okay, so that's the maximum. Okay. I move that we issue a fine of $25 a day as of the date of the violation, effective then until ongoing, that we will suspend collecting that fine if we get a forestry remediation plan within 2 weeks. If not, we will require that full amount be paid to the
Do
commission.
you want to add to that and a deadline of completion?
No, I just want, this particular motion is only talking about getting in front of us a forestry remediation plan. I'll have another follow-on motion for other things.
Okay.
A second.
Motion you made a second.
What day though? The day
Um,
we discovered it, the day we issued it, further, the day they came out of compliance in June.
I want to do it from the day they came out of compliance in June.
Is June 11th, was it? Give an extension until.
May I ask a question?
Oh, we're discussing, yeah.
I'm a little concerned that we've been a plan that is not going to address the points that are in Isabella's notes here, which are the recommendations of the state forester. And I would like, if you would agree, that whatever is submitted address those points, whether in agreement, in the plan, or contrary to and the reasons for.
I don't think we should do that. Because it's up to the applicant to propose whatever they want to propose. Once we receive what they propose, then we deliberate and say whether we consider it acceptable and vote to accept it or
me,
not.
that just means
Right, I agree with Tony on that, unless you give them specific bullet points that they.
And I don't think we can legally.
So if it's from a legal standpoint, that's understandable.
Can we say?
So let's suggestively.
We already have several times tonight.
It's here.
Yeah, the motion sheet is a public record. It's on available.
Okay, so a motion's been made and seconded to issue fines and suspend should this be resolved or brought to the 2 weeks from now meeting, January 29th, August 29th, I believe it is.
27.
27th, so August 27th meeting. We've had discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any abstentions, any, what's the other word?
Opposed.
Opposed, that's the one. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, I have another motion to make. We were requested permission many months ago to remove logs from the staging area at the front. We authorized that. That did not happen. At a previous meeting, I raised the point that they had not been removed and we were told they would be removed by hand. They were still there, some of them were still there today. Today, we heard from the forester that that particular staging area is incredibly sensitive. Well, maybe not as sensitive other parts of the wetlands that are impacted, but it's still a wetlands area. And so therefore, the longer the logs stay there, the more damage it's going to do. So I am now looking around to see if people would support fines on a daily basis until those logs are out there. And if Jim McDonald cannot take them out quickly enough, then maybe the fines will give an incentive for the property and their owner and their agent to hire someone else to get them out quicker.
See if I can get you an answer. Jim McCarthy. So,
I do think part of the restoration, if they can't get the logs off site, then they can move them to upland areas. They don't need to take it to Southern.
right, they just have to, so would
The motion-
question be at that point, then the logs need to either be relocated or removed in order to
That's-
stop.
They have to
That's
be
part of
removed.
the restoration plan, though. It would be my point.
I feel like that was kind of a separate thing when we talked about it.
Hmm.
No, I want to
Restoration.
distinguish between this because the restoration plan, we've been only recently talking about. Getting the logs out of there, we started this discussion back in February, March, and we continued it in April and May, and they assured us that those logs would be removed. I am tired of waiting for the logs to be removed, and I want to put a financial penalty in for every day that they are not removed moving forward. And by removed, I don't care whether they are removed off-site or whether they're removed to an upland. We can identify the wetlands resource area at the front. They need to get out of there as soon as possible. That's what we heard today at the sidewalk.
I would agree.
So you made the motion,
Well, I haven't made a motion. I'm just saying, do people think that's a reasonable idea? And I have no idea what dollar amount should go on this one. So if someone else wants to suggest a dollar amount.
or if somebody wants to make a motion, because I haven't heard a motion yet either.
How does everyone feel about it, Terry? What do you think? What do you think?
Do it in 2 days, I could get it all done.
That's one of the things the forester said that it did not require a very large piece of equipment, that it would require someone who had the skills and a forestry license and the expertise and knew what they were doing that could go in and take care of the entire site, not just the area in the front.
And honestly, I personally feel that's where that should be handled, is should be done all at once, not piecemeal, because piecemeal is gonna take too long.
Okay,
I
so
think I have some concerns with the way he's operating, having gas out in the wetland area, refilling tanks, refilling chainsaw.
An oil can, an
And
oil.
oil cans and lots of trash, Dunkin' Donuts cups. I don't think he necessarily needs to be the person removing those logs. So if they hire a professional to do the forest access road, I don't know that this other person should keep working by the landing area.
Okay, so Terry's convinced me that we should not do anything until it should be included as part of the plan. So, okay, I will not make a motion.
And, I mean, that could be involved into the daily fines.
I don't, I have no difficulty on that, but I guess my question is, what becomes of the landing once those things are done?
But it's part of the restoration.
Pardon?
It would be part of the restoration.
Right, but that just leaves me with the question, what's the access to get all this stuff done? Is it gonna just come in through what is now the landing? And I understand that could be part of the plan, but it's.
I think
They're
that
gonna get into the site.
I think that people are making a bigger deal of this than there is, because as far as the slash, you can take that excavator, spin it 180 degrees, drop it, go in front of it, and keep moving it back to the front if you really want to. You can do the same if you're gonna make piles, you can do the same if you're gonna make roads. So as far as the slash road goes, that's not an issue of going back and forth, because that's not.
I'm talking about the landing.
Right, so
I'm talking about-
when you get to the landing, you got that same excavator, you pick the logs up, you put them on a log truck and you ship them out. So you put them on a flatbed, you put them on anything you want. You put them in a dump truck. So you can get rid of logs easy enough. Nobody wants to spend the money to do it.
And that would be the
Get a
purpose of
10-wheel
the fine.
dump truck, you can get all those logs gone in a day.
And that would be the purpose of a fine, to encourage them to get it done.
So that's
Okay,
my
this
feeling.
motion. What's that motion?
No, I'm saying you convinced me
Discussion.
that we should wait and give them and not do anything further about the logs at this point. We'll just say that that's got to be, we will expect that to be part of their restoration remediation.
So is to not belabor this thing any longer is, where do we want to go with this? Because right now we still have no clearer indication of how this is going to end than we did yesterday.
We have the motion that Carl and Leah made that passed for assessing the, $25 a day, essentially 2 months, you're at $1,500.
If they get us a plan, then it goes away.
Correct.
That was the.
But it doesn't address the restoration plan.
No,
We need the restoration plan in 2 weeks, or are they gonna find?
Okay.
and if we get a restoration plan and we don't like it, then we have a further conversation.
We're dangerously close to the wetlands. Let's see.
Presented, sharing again.
We don't have subpoena power. We can't compel someone to show up.
Well, that just begs the question. The applicant isn't really the owner of the property.
He's delegated to an agent, Gary Smith, so we can't force either of them to show up. All we can do is issue fines.
I just feel bad. Well, I guess we have to wait 2 weeks.
I think we got it.
But when we have the fines in place if they don't.
Mhm.
So,
I would like to, if in 2 weeks, that $25 fine goes to the maximum at that point for the duration.
yeah.
Because in 2 weeks, at that point, it just shows it shows all lack of interest.
Yes, I chose a small amount because
Just
it's
to get their attention.
to say hi there.
To increase the 300 a day following the next meeting in August.
If there's no plan.
Is that retroactive?
No, I think future.
I would go with you. I would not, like I said, I'm not here to punish people
No.
for making mistakes, but I do not want to be a board that says, well, okay, well, I guess that's okay today and tomorrow and the next.
No, they've had time. They've had plenty of time. We've been patient.
So. Yeah, we still on that motion, Isabel?
No, we passed it.
Okay. We, are we all set with Duchesne?
I think so. Go do your work, Deshae, come back in 2 weeks with a plan.
Yeah,
Hopefully
that's what I
they'll-
would do. Yeah, well, so I assume is better to send this meeting minutes to Gary so I can and me and I just want to make sure I get all the points so more clear because I cannot hear and that making my notes that well. So
The minutes will not be improved until a future meeting. However, this video should be uploaded to YouTube by the middle of next week. If
The
not,
motion sheet is under the agenda, so I have it written there. There's a motion sheet on the website where you found the agenda.
May I suggest
Okay.
something? Isabella, would you mind just sending that to Shane so he has a copy of it? So he can get working on it quicker? Thank you. So Shane, she's gonna
Yeah,
send you some.
yeah, just send me a draft. I mean, the points, I appreciate it. Just like because I'm in the car, I had to go to another hearing. I'm not even in the office making those notes. So it will help me a lot to get the plan done.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, no, so definitely I will work as quick as I can. So hopefully sooner than 2 weeks. But I do have to make sure that the implementation I get making that presentation to the owner as clear as I can. Then he can get people to move. Otherwise, it's because it's not we don't have a mitigation plan. Originally, we kind of agree that leave the slashes in the place, just taking the locks out. That's one of the very earliest letter I have proposed, and I sort of we all agreed. But with the time, rolling and the inaction and the cause all the problems, I apologize for all, and the people don't act to it. So that's what they have to take the penalty. I'm sorry, but what we can do, I can't do anything to hold their hands. So, but hopefully they will see serious actions they have to take.
Got to keep in mind that we require 48 hours for these plans so that we have time to review them.
Yeah, we'll try to. That's why I say, yeah. So with notes from Isabella, I should be able to get on it, next week. So,
Thank you, Duchesne.
all right. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Drive safe.
All right, so now it's updates. We did updates, so now it's item agenda
I have
number
a
11.
question on the conservation agent update.
Okay.
111 and 113 Uxbridge Road. What's the status of that? And do we need to request the property owner to come in and talk to us? Or is it strictly a zoning issue, enforcement issue?
Bob and I have talked about this. I think the owner or I think it's leased out, so whether you want both of them there, that's. I don't know, but so there's the owner and the leasing.
Okay, can you explain what I'm asking about?
The property next to P's and D's is operating an automotive
Oh, yeah.
repair. And there's vehicles parked about 50 feet away from the stream that is coming off of P's and D's, so. From review with the planner and building commissioner, the building commissioner is looking into it. In my opinion, if it's a zoning issue, then they can't have that many vehicles on the site, then that resolves any concerns that we have. But we can move forward and have them come in 2 weeks and tell them they have to remove all the cars or submit a notice of intent. But, it's not up to us to say whether a business can run in a shed or garage that's existed.
No, we just have to see if it's jurisdictional for.
Well, the concern from, the concerns that were voiced to me was whether or not, oils and fluids from vehicles, leaking onto the ground and therefore creating a problem for the stream that's behind it. And I asked if there was any pictures of rainbows in the water or anything like that. I haven't heard back, so whether there is or not, I don't know. But again, it's a concern that was voiced to us, that our job is to look into them and make sure that if it's allowable, then we have the answer, and if it's not, then we have a plan to correct it. Did you get your answer?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I remember it now, I just needed my memory jogged.
Review and approve minutes for June 11th. Are these available? Which ones are available?
Right here, as part of our packet.
Yes. Okay, so want to make sure that we have them.
I move we approve the minutes for June 11th and June 25th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Motion passes. Good and welfare for the commission. Does that, any of the commissioners have anything they'd like to discuss? Items not reasonably anticipated, 48 hours in advance. Anything come in, Isabella?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Have a good night, everybody.
I have two signature pages.
Yeah, the Christmas time.